May have mentioned that a time or two. Testing. Is this one on? I may have just turned it off. Okay, now it's showing A1. All right. I did turn mine down, actually. I turned the soundboard down because your mic is hotter than mine. No. That was not a compliment, Spencer. Micah, get him under control, would you please? She's like, man, I've been trying. Yeah, right? All right, how's this? Any sound coming out of these? All right. I don't need it to be loud necessarily because we're a smaller group right now, especially today. However, those online need to be able to hear. So you remember Mariette Bolger, she still listens online. Of course, you know Gloria, she listens online. Steve probably listens online too, because when he comes back home, she's probably catching up on mine, and he's like, oh, this again? No, I'm just teasing. Hey, brother, sometimes I was telling Pearl this morning, I need my message this morning. And you say, all right, okay, you're so humble. No, I almost said I'm for serious. Whew. So you start with one grammatical error and it just all goes downhill from there. The grammatical error, of course, to which I'm referring is the title of my lesson this morning. You are being lied to. That is a big no-no. Never end a sentence in a preposition. Yep. It's just not something you end a sentence with. See what I did there? All right. So anyways, you are being lied. Now, you may have heard this phrase uttered by some folks who said, Anthony Fauci is the Antichrist, you're being lied to. I appreciate the courtesy chuckle. Okay. You may have also heard this line uttered by those who would say, you watch Dumbo, Satan is entering your home, you are being lied to. Okay. All right. It's a Disney movie. Yep. I actually have only seen it once. Don't say that, Steve. You make me feel young and disqualified for the ministry. Although I'll take feeling young any day. That's good stuff. It's funny. Some days I'll be like, I'm only 35. I'm only halfway there. And then I'm like, oh, halfway there. One foot on a banana peel, the other in the grave. All right. Well done, Britt. Halfway there. Then others, like last night, I lay awake thinking, 35. What is life? It is ending. But then you know what keeps me feeling really good? I have only just this year become eligible to run for the President of the United States of America. 35. Yep. And if I were to run and somehow win, I fantasize. I would be the youngest one ever elected. Youngest ever. Oh, look how I went Trump there with my finger. That didn't mean to. Youngest ever. I have to ask Josh to do his impersonation. He really gets it down. I shouldn't do this when we're live streaming. People, anyway, I don't know. Yeah, that's right. Amen. No, if whatever God calls you to do, if you were to become president of the United States, that would be a step down. You know what I mean? I have heard growing up, and maybe some of you have heard it too, if God calls you to be a pastor, don't step down to be a king. All right, well, what about the housewives? You know what I mean? What if God calls you into the Air Force? Then don't step down to be a king. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there for you. If God calls you to deliver mail, don't step down to be a king. I don't know. I just wanted to. Why did you distract me? This is completely on you. This is not my fault. This is not on me. No, if you keep track, we'll run out of numbers. Where are any of my pet squirrels, actually, now that I've thought about squirrel? There's one on the wall. There's one back there by the sound booth. I should have one right here just to keep me accountable. Then I'd just forget about them, and it would make me go off on. Yeah, you're exactly right. We'll put rabbits up there too. All right. You are being lied to. So my whole thing, right, is you may have heard this said about anything. I'm not saying that it's not true if you've heard it about those things, right? If someone were to say, and my really big kick the last couple of years has been the two aircraft crashes caused by the Boeing 737 MAX. If you're not familiar with it, you should get acquainted with it. It's a terrible injustice. And I just watched it. I didn't watch the documentary, and we're going to watch that. At least I will. But I just saw the introductory clip for a documentary that was recently made about this terrible catastrophe. Hey, guys, welcome. I'm glad you're here. This terrible catastrophe. And they said, if we release to the public that we have had to move the engines up on the wing a little bit, it will require recertification and training for our pilots. And you know what that means? Money. All right. You would have to, listen, the airlines would have to pay a few $1 million. No, the airlines, the ones who can't go broke. Literally, we tried. You know what I mean? You can't go broke. They'll always get bill of money. So the airline said, no, so internally, we're going to refer to this as the MCAS system. MCAS, M-C-A-S, was the name of the new navigation software that they implemented in the airplanes. But if you didn't get training on the MCAS system, then you would not have known what the plane was doing when it overcorrected for the adjustment in the engine on the wing. So you would not know how to fly this airplane correctly because of the addition of the MCAS system. If you did not receive proper training, then you would not know what to do. And you would try to correct what the plane is supposed to be doing, and you would crash the plane. This happened twice. And so everybody said, oh, it's Boeing 737. We're not going to fly any Boeing 737. Well, the problem wasn't necessarily the 737 MAX. It's a relatively safe plane, but you have to know how to fly it. And you have to know what software is controlling the plane. This coming from somebody who's afraid to fly. I shouldn't be. Flying is tremendously safe. Listen, if you want to help me, now's a good time to say amen. I'm just saying right now, I'm trying to help you. Help me. No. So these Boeing things are the problem. But they said externally, we're going to refer to this as an addition to our existing program. And they listed the program. I have to watch the doc. Externally, we're going to refer to it as this. And the whole memo that was released was basically they want to avoid having to retrain pilots. It would be too costly, too expensive. And now they're under the spotlight for trying to save a few bucks. And 2 planes went down because they did not properly release software, training, etc. And it wasn't developed nations, by the way, that suffered because of this. It was developing nations, because they don't have access to just about everything we do, and there aren't as many rigorous constraints, etc., you see. So when it happens to like Indonesian air, and I'm not saying they're necessarily a developing nation, but they're nowhere near the United States of America in terms of GDP, etc. I hope you're still with me. This is an introduction. It is easier to ignore when it happens to somebody unknown than when it happens in the good old US of A to a bunch of people that look like me. I'm just saying, can I just be real with you? But you go over to India and all of a sudden when's the last time you read an article about like a bomb in a bus that went off in the Middle East and like 112 people died and, but if it happened here, if it happened in Portland, Maine, I'm just saying, right? It's just, we tend to care about things that are more localized. And so my whole point is it's a lot easier to try to pull one over when it's not really in your backyard, and that's what's going on a lot. So, ladies and gentlemen, I can confirm that when it came to the Boeing 737 MAX MCAS release, there is written proof that you were being lied to as a member of the public. And I'm glad none of you got on those planes. You say, the government would never lie to me. Oh, you sweet summer child. That's the only way to get elected, man. I don't know, probably isn't, but sure seems that way. Anything. Oh, I'm thinking of 100 examples, but I'm only trying to limit it to 1 or 2 because this is introduction. I'm trying to say things that will resonate with you and make you say, I know what he's talking about. And yet I have so many examples. Margarine was supposed to be good for us, and eggs were supposed to be bad for us. The science changed. Science doesn't change. Our extrapolation changes. Science is a process. What we extrapolate from science changes. So you could say, you know what? We thought eggs were good for you or bad for you. Now we think eggs are good for you. And we're going to run a multi-billion-dollar campaign called The Incredible Edible. Yeah, you guys know it, right? Of course, Adam, you got this, man. He's a TV set. You just got to tune into the right channel, amen? So here's the thing. No, everybody's lying to you. Everybody's lying to you. You say, come on, I want to be more trusting than that. In these four walls is probably the best place to like start like trusting. And even then, there's a whole lot of risk. I know people who can't even trust their spouse. I might be one of them, and she's really good at it. You know what I mean? No, I'm just joking, right? I don't believe in one of them. My wife isn't one of them. But I know people who can't even trust their spouse. Trusting is getting harder and harder because we, as a culture and as a society, are becoming more skeptical. Now, I have one last example. Here's my last example. A lot of times, folks might say that, so let me take a drink of water, and I'm going to pause for back effect and let everybody get situated. I'm glad I took the pause because I'm going to restart. I do not care at present what you think about vaccines of any kind, not just coronavirus, of any kind. Vaccines, pharmaceutical drugs. That is not the point of this illustration. So, do you understand this so far? We're tracking? Okay. Many people are reticent or hesitant to trust big pharma. Why? Because it is the same science that teaches us we can't even tell what a boy and a girl are from each other. Does that make sense? Do I think that's a legitimate claim? Sometimes sure, sometimes no. Completely branching of science, so-called. I get that. But you have to understand, please understand, if you don't already, then this will help you to understand. Did you have everyman Joe standing here in the United States of America, riding the subway to work, and they hear on one hand, new scientific development. We were completely wrong about the age of the earth. They're always switching it around. We were wrong about Lucy, the skeleton. They're always making up new skeletons. You know what I'm saying? We were wrong about this, wrong about that. We were wrong. And then they're saying, hey, Leah Thomas just won the freestyle NCAA record, an insult to women everywhere. And then they read, hey, science says you should do this. Now, again, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. That's not my point. But I understand why people are more skeptical in general. Does that make sense? All right, how about this? One that'll make you all breathe, okay? Some of y'all held your breath that entire time. It's going to be all right. Wear your seatbelt. Science says you will likely not die as much or in as much of a gruesome way. But then you do some research and you're like, wait a minute. People have died because they wore their seatbelts. And people say, am I being lied to about the seatbelt laws? Am I being lied to about everything? Come on, saints. So the title of the lesson this morning is You Are Being Lied To. If you were not aware already that you're being lied to, you are being lied to a lot. You say, well, I don't have any kids. That's not the problem. Amen. All right. Despite the massive transgression of some basic rules of grammar, this phrase has become rather popular lately. You are being lied to. And for good reason. As a society, we are becoming more aware that we are and have always been surrounded by lies and deceit. Let me do this little trick. I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to hold two fingers up on each hand and shake my jowls a little bit. Come on, guys. I am not a crook. I am not a crook. Michelle. Yes, I learned that this morning. Yep. So there's a gentleman in Bath who passed away, and we're going to take some time to pray for him at the appropriate time after the lesson, okay? All right. Okay, so here we are. All right, so Nixon, yes. So Nixon says, I am not a crook. I am not a crook. Let me just back up here. I feel like I want to address it now just because we're there. There's a gentleman who was in a church in Lisbon, and he was sick, and it kind of looked like he was going to recover, up and down, and he did pass away. We got word of that this morning, and I want to be sensitive to that. It's not, I was hoping to deal with it a little bit differently, but since we're right here, that did happen. And so if you've been praying for the Trimbles, please continue to pray for Bev, right, and the family and the church family there. Okay, we all right? We're going to do that? Okay. All right, so you have Nixon, who says, I'm not a crook. And what was he? A crook. You have Bill Clinton, who says, I never inhaled. Yeah, right. But who says, America, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. And by the letter of the law, maybe kind of, sort of, but what was he doing? Was he telling you the truth or was he lying to you? Yes, he was lying to you. You were lied to by a politician. Now, I know this sounds a little silly, but aren't politicians supposed to be the ones we should be able to trust? I know this sounds silly in today's age, right? I got some numbers to show you. You probably can't read it from down there, and that's totally okay. But this isn't hearsay. It's actually backed up by the numbers. There's a big gap between political parties. That's neither here nor there this morning. But the common denominator is that we're trusting others less, particularly those who we really should be able to trust. National news organizations in 2016 to 2021, between Republican and leaning Republicans, went from 70% down to 35%. Not trusting the news. Even those who are Democratic or lean Democratic went from 83% down to 78% since 2016. And all adults on average went from 76% to 58% of not trusting the news. I say it's a good start personally. I'm one of those people who doesn't trust the news a whole lot. And by the way, it didn't start in 2016. It started when Walter Cronkite died, okay? Let's just be there. All right. There I was in the middle of Baghdad being fired upon by helicopters. What's his name? Peter Jennings? Brian Williams. Sorry, Peter Jennings, didn't mean to throw you under the bus. But I'm just saying, like, what is it with? Anyways, all right, local news organizations, in addition to national, local also suffered on every statistic. Social media, rightfully, went down to 19% on right-leaning and 34% of left-leaning. And it took a big hit in between 2019 and 2020. Interesting. All right, so check this out. Here's another little graph. You say, what are all these graphs? Don't worry about it. I'll show them to you later if you really want to read them all. But here's another one. You might not be able to make it all up on your seat, but this graph indicates that people simply trust others way less. Here's a couple for you. I can read it better over here. Medical scientists. That went from, again, there's a whole bunch of different statistics. There's a great deal of trust, a fair amount of trust, not too much trust or no confidence. But in the last 2 years, 89% to 78% medical scientists. This is the wrong, all adults, not left or right or anything. Scientists plunged, the military plunged, police officers plunged, public school principals trust plunged, religious leaders, that plunged. Journalists, that plunge, business leaders, that plunge, and elected officials was already staggeringly low, and that still somehow managed to plunge another 13 points. You say, Britt, what's the point? Oh, it's because people believe they're being lied to. Are they wrong? Now, in this room, trust me, I thought long and hard about how I'm going to deal with this because there's a lot of people who say, I'm being lied to about 45 things right now. Others might say, I'm being lied to about 16 things right now. Even if you think you're not being lied to about a lot and you think other people are crazy for thinking they're being lied to that much, I get it. Trust me. I like to think of myself as someone who straddles the fence happily. You say, you're a fence straddler? And proud. But here's the thing, right? No matter how much you think you're being lied to, you need to know you're being lied to. Now, I spent a tremendous amount of time establishing something that you already know, but I did it for this reason. Here's an experiment. On this TV screen, I carefully assembled, oh so carefully, portraits of people. I'm going to name them for you. Vladimir Putin, in no particular order. Jimmy Carter, Francis Collins, head of the NIH, National Institutes of Health. If you want to dunk on Francis Collins, you definitely have to go to me. I love Francis Collins. That guy's phenomenal. He's a believer. He actually writes songs about Jesus and stuff, and he's amazing. He's awesome. Anyways, I'm a little biased on that one. Abraham Lincoln, Klaus Schwab, J.P. Sears, Anthony Fauci, Zelensky, President Zelensky. I don't remember his first name. I don't know why. It just kind of missed me. Vladimir. Was it Vladimir? Oh, there's two. Oh, Volodymyr and Vladimir. That's right. Yep. Barack Obama. Melania Trump. Thought I'd put her up there. Donald Trump. Joe Biden. I put them side by side. What was the reason? I don't know. And Ketanji Brown Jackson. I put those pictures up there. You will not raise your hand and give me an opinion of these people, or we will be here till 4:30 this evening. You may look at that group of people and say, almost all of them have committed war crimes against humanity, or crimes against humanity. Some war crimes, some not. Okay. You might look at that list and say, actually, all of them love me and are persuaded for my better interest in life. Okay. You might, now here's the thing, you might also look at that list and say every single one of those guys knows each other except Abe Lincoln. They all know each other. They all meet every week in a room to discuss my fate. Okay. I think that's equally absurd as saying that they all look out for your best interest. All right. Are you with me? The truth lies somewhere in between those extremes. Okay. And it's not every week. It's every other week. Come on, get it right, guys. Get it right. No, I'm teasing. Y'all are so nervous right now. I'm nervous. I'm the one up here talking. You don't get to be nervous. I'm nervous. So that's my social experiment. You can look at that list and say, most of those guys hate my guts. You could also look at that list and say, most of those guys like me just fine. Abraham Lincoln, if he were here, I'd just get out of the way and let him preach. You know what I mean? I'm just, same with Francis Collins. All right. Keep in mind that we're not here to argue about the trustworthiness of politicians, leaders, teachers, scientists, or doctors. There is a time for that, for healthy, fun discussion about teachers and doctors and scientists and all that fun stuff. But that's not here and now. Pastor, why did you just take the last 10, 15 minutes just digging a ditch for all of us in which to wallow? Well, the stats, I put show reveal. That means they really reveal. Amen. The stats reveal that we're trusting people as a society less and less, especially those who are in position of leadership and security. The United States government, and I'll tell you right now, the United States government is bloated and overpowered, but one of the things that we're supposed to trust our government to do is to protect and serve. All right? Police, protect and serve, defend your liberties, and get out of the way. Now they want to run your lives. That's something that a lot of us can agree on in here, and I think it's pretty fair to say. What's it now? now it's a swamp. Kim said it, not me. Swamp is the registered trademark. Oh, no, I'm just joking. All right. Listen to this. This lack of trust is not without merit. Over the years, especially since the advent of social media and easier proliferation of information and misinformation and ideas, you've seen that the government, media, big tech, and most large corporations are simply not truthful. Mark Zuckerberg stood in Congress and would not answer a single question clearly. Are you stealing my information? Are you taking more things about me than I want you to have? Next question, please. What? One of my favorite questions, I gotta say, one of my favorite questions they asked Mark Zuckerberg. They said, Mark Zuckerberg, where are you staying right now? What hotel are you staying in? Would you feel comfortable telling me that? And Mark says, no, I wouldn't feel comfortable telling you that. And then he launched right into what social media does. It tells Facebook that. Facebook knows where you are. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of interesting, right? So it's kind of cool. The government, media, big tech, large corporations are simply not truthful. By the way, one of the reasons why I think a lot of government, big tech, media are not truthful is in a big way, they think they're doing it to defend your interests. Well, if we told them that, there'd be panic. If we told them that, they wouldn't. I know I'm losing you. Don't let me lose you. I can see your body language. Let's keep moving. Here we go. That's not to say that there's no good people in government, but that is to say that as we look in America, the general consensus from the statistics I showed you and from the way you may feel in your heart this morning is that you look at the government, you look at media of any kind, any channel, you look at whatever institution or establishment, you think, I don't think I can trust them wholeheartedly. If I had a category of wholehearted trust, I would not put any of those things in that category. Are you with me? Okay, no matter how extreme or not extreme you may consider yourself on that. What's more, between hearing a Supreme Court justice not being willing to define what a woman is, to watching private companies and lobbyists lead our elected representatives around by the nose, it's not a far cry to say that those we should trust are now among the least trustworthy in general. There are exceptions. But in general, when I go to, there is a reason they made a movie called Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And ladies and gentlemen, that movie is in black and white. In other words, it's gotten worse since, I can promise you that. And what America longs for, what America craves, is somebody who's just going to go and represent the desires of that particular legislative community. When I go to the ballot box, I say, I think that person will represent my values the best. Check. And yet when we send them off to Washington, they're absorbed by the machine in general. There are exceptions. But in general, what the common view is that they're absorbed by a machine, and then they say, oh, you know, I'm not really worried about my constituents as much as I'm worried about securing my reelection, getting that extra bonus check. Come on, saints. It's all about money. Money, power, sex. You say, Pastor, are we ever going to be in the Bible this morning? Yes. Let me get through my introduction. Okay. An unfortunate result of this reality, this is very important. An unfortunate result of this reality has been an extreme knee-jerk reaction in the other direction, where we often blindly trust outlandish weirdos with a YouTube channel or podcast, present company excluded, I'm never wrong, who are peddling their own version of fake news instead. Okay, so here's this. Let me paint it for you, and then we're going to get into the scripture real quick, and I'm going to show you something. All right. So you've got on one hand, people say, they're lying to me about everything. There's going to be, I'm not going to get into specifics. I will just continue to try to dig myself out. They're lying to me about everything. I'm going to just not trust anyone ever. And if they tell me to stop at red lights, that actually means go. Well, good luck with that, right? Then there's the other extreme, which says, I blindly trust them without hesitation. I'm going to do everything they say. Either extreme is not in your best interest. Can we agree on that? Yeah. A lot of times, there's a knee-jerk reaction when we say, I cannot trust the media, the government, the airlines, whatever. I don't trust them to actually look out for me and tell me the truth. So I'm going to go over here because this guy on this website tells me what I already believe. And I agree with him. Of course you agree with him. You agree with yourself. It's called an echo chamber. Anybody familiar with what an echo chamber is? You stand in a room and go, echo, echo. All right. So you turn in these, radio shows or whatever, and they tell you what you want to hear on either end, and we'll do anything just to find someone we can trust. And you know what I've often seen? Is there's such an abdication of trust. And we say, I'm being lied to, I'm being lied to, I'm being lied to, that they won't trust anybody at all except for themselves. And the problem is we're some of the last people we should be able to trust too. You say, Britt, thank you for plunging us down this depressing abyss. Yes, we're being lied to. But to be clear, the problem isn't the politicians. The hospital charged me $2,100 for a Band-Aid. I know. The hospital didn't come up with that themselves. That's part of a long-standing, long-running gimmick. Pricing sheets, insurance, it's all a scam to make more money. But here's the problem, right? You could go burn that hospital down. That's the worst thing you could ever do, by the way. Don't do that. Man. And you say, that'll fix the problem. No, it won't. Well, this politician's lying. I'm going to get rid of every lying politician in Washington, D.C. I'm going to, drain the swamp. Is that going to solve the problem? Come on, guys. Are we that naive? Do we really think that when we, let me just keep going. It's not Biden or Putin or Fauci or Brown or Jackson or Brown Jackson or Trump or Pence or Klaus Schwab. It is deeper and older than that. I wrote here, even those that we see as pulling the strings are really just puppets themselves. You mean the conspiracy goes deeper? Oh, yes. Even if you're the wildest conspiracy theorist on earth, I can take you one step further because the conspiracy will always go as deep as the human heart. It is not about the vaccine. It is not about the airplanes. It's not about the hospital bill. It's not about any of the issues about which you may or may not be so inflamed. The issue has been and always will be the deceit that lies in our hearts. There is no amount of institutional reformation that will ever change the human heart. You can make all these new rules. Wasn't that tried in Old Testament Israel? Come, saints, wasn't it tried? Thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. Well, they did a good job not murdering somebody, but they hated people in their hearts. The law doesn't change hearts. Never was meant to. The law was a reflection of God's covenant love toward people and how people should treat each other. But we as human, you can drain the swamp. I'm just trying to think of any other thing we talk about as a solution. You can oust the Illuminati. You can find the election fraud for Donald Trump. Whatever you want to do, it's not going to fix the problem of the heart. Well, if we could just elect better people in office, then you will have brand new liars. Well, then I'll run. You better be ready to be a Mr. or Mrs. Smith. I'm just saying. Well, the answer is more Christians in politics. The answer is not more Christians in politics. I'm not saying that that's not a good thing, but that is not the final answer. And if you've been dishonest or selfish in the last couple of weeks, you're part of the problem, not part of the solution. You say, that's pretty much all of us. Congratulations. Now, what's the solution? Get angry? That'll just give you high blood pressure. Right? I was actually one of my best friends who was just talking to me, and he said, sometimes I want to have a really nice time with my wife, but then she'll get so bent out of shape about the issues, it ruins our entire evening. Just be like me. Don't let your wife read the news, right? Just be like, honey, I'll take care of it. No, I'm just joking. That's terrible. I'm not really like that. I'm not. Get angry. How about this? Get even. Well, you're taxing me without representation. I'm gonna throw some boxes of tea into the ocean. See how you like it. That's a sacred cow. All right. Get depressed. Get elected. Well, the answer is not any of those things. You are being lied to, and the solution is to be aware of and live each moment in defiance of one more lie. Perhaps the biggest lie ever fed to Christians. Can I share with you, Saint, what I think the biggest lie ever fed to Christians, at least in American history? Can I share that with you? Would you like to see what I think is the biggest lie? Yeah, Pastor, we're so excited. All right, here we go. Here's what the lie is. What you do in your little sphere and in your personal life does not matter. You have no platform, no influence, and no audience. You cannot change anything, and what you do does not make a difference. And I submit to you that that's probably the most harmful lie ever propagated on the American Christian. Here's what I mean. In ancient Rome, there was no talk of repealing slavery because there was no way for the people to have a voice. You just got your head cut off. You have a voice, now you don't have a voice box. Get it? In America, now we were able to do things. We were able to say, oh, wow, I actually have a voice now. Even if I don't have a voice directly, we all together as a community are going to elect somebody to be our representative in the House of Representatives so that they will represent us with fair representation. Are you seeing the common denominator here? Or they will go to when people congress. Gress means to go, con means with or together. When it comes together, I will send my representative to Congress, and there they will represent me. Wow, we have a voice now. It's not called democracy, it's called a democratic republic. Get it right. Democracy is anarchy. A republic is actually awesome, just so everybody knows that. That's another, oh, come on, Saint, it was a perfect illustration. You made me do this. When you hear on the news that we're a democracy, that's a lie. We're not a democracy. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and we're a republic. That's a wild difference. If we were a democracy, you'd be voting by Facebook. Click yes if you want this president. Click no if you don't want this. You see what I'm saying? We're not a democracy. We're a republic, which, by the way, has kept us safe from a lot of really bad election results. Isn't that right? Yeah, otherwise. Oh, this is not the right. Okay, here we go. All right. I'm almost done with the slides, people. I'm almost done. This is going to make sense. Such a statement of saying, you don't have a voice, you don't have anything to do, that flies in the face of the gospel. Here's what I mean. You say, Pastor, are you about to tell us to go vote and make a difference? No, again, you could get a new representative in there, but that doesn't change the heart. The gospel is about the fact that you do make a difference, just perhaps not in the way that you've been taught makes a difference. I'm not saying that voting doesn't make a difference. Please don't get me wrong. But when's the last time you voted for somebody who you thought was going to represent you really well, but then they get in Capitol Hill and all of a sudden they're entirely different? There was a guy running for president in my lifetime, and I voted for him in the primaries, but he didn't quite make it against another guy. The guy I voted for in the primaries, who I thought was going to be wildly better than the other guy, was not. He ended up being a totally different dude than I thought he would be. That's happened to me more than once, and I'm only the young age of 35. Are you seeing what I'm saying? So then how can we make a difference? What are we supposed to do? Here it is. Everybody thought Jesus had to kill in order to conquer or change the world. Are you with me? Are you tracking? We're together for the last 10, 15 minutes of this. This is when it's going to all come to a head. You've suffered long enough. Here we go. Everybody said, Jesus, you're here. You're going to grab a sword and you're going to wipe out Rome and you're going to change the world. Did Jesus do that? No. He did a remarkably counterintuitive thing. He died. He did the exact opposite of what everybody thought he should have and had to do. Are you with me? I submit to you that if Jesus had picked up a sword, we wouldn't even know his name. If Jesus had picked up a sword, he would have been another zealot, another guy who's just fighting against the power, and he would have been slaughtered on the spot, and we would never know his name. But he did the opposite of what everybody thought you should have to do. You say, yeah, but you don't understand. We're being lied to. That does not change your responsibility. Yeah, but you don't understand. The Illuminati, man, they're going to send down their starships, UFOs. I'm being as ridiculous as I can. And then they're going to abduct us, and then they're going to brand us with 666, and then we're going to come down, and you buy a loaf of bread, and you're actually eating a virus that I'm coming up with this on the spot, saying, I don't care if that's true or not. It doesn't change your responsibility. And yes, I'm going to pick on the other side too. You don't understand. When I wake up in the morning and the government draws my shades for me, and then the robot comes to my window and says, I saw you got 7 hours of sleep and enjoyed 4 dreams. How's your morning going? I just love that. I don't like that either. But does that change your responsibility? No. What is your responsibility? To be like Jesus. What does that look like? All right, here's what it looks like. If you want to fight the lies or defend yourself against deceit, you've got to embrace the truth. Speaking of immunizations, I'm having a blast up here. This is my last Sunday as pastor. All right, I'm joking. Right? Let's say they come out with an immunization for the common cold. All right, it works. There's nothing iffy about it. They actually found out that if you eat a can of sardines every 15th of March, you don't get the cold, ever. As long as you eat a can of sardines every 15th of March. That's the immunization. So they've come up with this immunization, and they say, all right, here's your can of sardines. Nothing weird about it. You can even catch your own sardines. Do whatever you got to do. Some of y'all are like, oh, I know what they put in those sardines. No, you're killing the illustration. It's just sardines. And you eat your sardines, and you're like, oh, man, okay, this is great. No common cold for 1 year. This is awesome. Do you immunize yourself against the cold by like going out and attacking the virus, or do you just immunize yourself against it by taking care of yourself? You know what I'm saying? I am not going to go find every rhinovirus and just take a flamethrower to it. That's what we do for spiders, not viruses, okay? Here's how we immunize ourselves against deceit. It's not by going on the warpath and saying, everybody who believes that Joe Biden is... No. What you do is you equip yourself with the truth. And here's really quick ways, really quick. You gotta listen fast because I'm going to talk fast. Number one, know the truth. Oh, I know the truth. No. I'm not talking politics or Fauci anymore. Know the truth with a capital T. In John chapter 8, Jesus said to the Jews that believed on him, if you continue in my word, then you're my disciples indeed, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. You can only know the truth as a disciple of Jesus Christ. You mean an unsaved person doesn't understand that 2 + 2 is 4? I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that there is an objective reality that Jesus portrays about himself and about the world. That if you follow Jesus, you will start seeing the world as he sees the world, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. The truth about the origins, the truth about the destination of all of humanity, the truth about right and wrong, the truth about all of the issues that this world is blundering up so bad right now. Don't let that, by the way, make you overconfident and say, well, I know Jesus, so I know the truth about Howard Hughes. It's not talking about that. It's talking about seeing the world as Jesus sees the world, and it comes from following Jesus and continuing in his word. Can I share with you something? Yes, I can. Listen, please. Listen, I got 8 minutes left with you. We're going to use every last one of them to the last drop. Please listen. Jesus is walking and chilling with his disciples, teaching them about how to live and about how not to live, teaching them about how to walk, teaching them about how to treat people. Did he spend any time at all investing that we know of in what to do during the next Caesar assassination? They don't have elections. They have assassinations. No. Somebody said, Jesus, we should pay taxes or no? And Jesus was like, pay taxes as you're supposed to, and then render unto God the things that belong to God. Jesus was all about taking the focus off of all of the lies that surround you and focusing on the truth. Because of my extremely masculine and muscular physique, don't you laugh. When I get up in the morning, I have to be very careful how I dress because I might make those around me stumble. You are being lied to. No, here it is, right? Instead of saying, how can I not be immodest? Don't focus on the negative and the world around you. Say, what can I do to glorify God with how I dress? You see what I'm saying? Focus on the truth. That truth will make you free. Yeah, but you don't understand. There's no such thing as birds. You think I'm crazy? There are Facebook groups out there dedicated to the non-existence of birds. They're not joking. Yeah, flat earthers, yeah, same thing. They're not joking. They really believe that birds are inventions of the government and that they all have cameras and stuff, and they recharge. They say, here's their big line. Why do you think you always see them sitting on power wires? They're recharging. They're serious. They're serious. And if you're in here like that, look, I'm sorry, I got nothing for you. They're recharging. And then the question is, have you ever actually held a pigeon in your hands? Yes, a lot of us have. So apparently this guy who's never actually interacted with a chicken or a robin or a blue jay is convinced, and there are, please don't get me wrong on it, don't misunderstand me, thousands of people in the 21st century who are persuaded that every bird you see is a government drone. Now, here's the worst part. In 15 years, what if I'm wrong and they actually are? Then I'm an idiot. No, they're joking, right? I'm pretty confident that I'm not wrong on that one. You know, a pretty good drone, you know what I'm saying? You got to make sure you remove the cables and the batteries before you, all right. So you say, but here's the thing, right? If you walk around obsessed with the birds are government inventions and drones, you are not going to be able to look up at the sky and just enjoy the world that God made, you see. Speaking of flat earth, right? If the earth is flat, and I know that the ancient Israelites saw it that way, they didn't have telescopes and stuff. If the earth is flat, then every time you look at your telescope and you see like round planets, you should be that much more amazed that we're the only planet that's flat out of like trillions of planets, which is, now somebody might say, yeah, that's the point, in which case I shouldn't have gone into it. All right, number two. So you got to know the truth. And then number two, you got to worship the truth. That is specifically worship Jesus, who is the truth. John 14:6, Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except by me. We cannot say we love the truth if we do not love Jesus. You cannot say you love Jesus if you don't love his body or obey his command. I know the truth. I am much more concerned with somebody knowing and relaying the truth of the gospel and the beauty of the earth and the brokenness of humanity and the solution of the gospel rather than obsessing over every negative thing that's going on in politics and science and medical field and all this stuff. I got to calm down. You say, they are lying to me in 612 ways. You are wrong. They're probably lying to you in 10,000 more ways than that. But that is not what we should hang our hat. And it is not as how we should form some source of pride and say, I've got it all figured out. If you had it all figured out, then they aren't nearly as smart as you think they are. You know what I'm saying? If they're really lying to you like you think they are, then you wouldn't be figuring out half of what you're figuring out. I'm just saying. I'm doing great this morning. I am. I really appreciate you asking. Okay, here we go. Number 3. Almost done. Almost done. You say, I don't want to be surrounded by lies. I don't want to fall for lies. I don't want to repeat lies. And here's what you do. You speak the truth. Ephesians chapter 4, Paul says, don't be like children anymore, carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, or by the lying wait to deceive, but speaking the truth in love, grow up into him in all things, which is the head, even Christ. It is imperative to speak the truth in love. Oh, I'm speaking the truth, all right. I'm about to go tell all these people who think they're feeding birds that you're actually ingesting government drone fluids that are released in gases when they land next to you. And you're controlled by the nanobots when that pigeon lands on your finger. Here's the thing, right? When the Bible talks about speaking the truth in love, it's not talking about revealing some sort of mystery that you figured out at 4:30 in the morning on your second cup of coffee. It's talking about, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I joke around about the most extreme example. Guys, there are conspiracies in this world. Of course there are. There is stuff they don't want you to know about. Of course there is. That's what makes the world exciting. I hope I'm wrong about Roswell. I hope there's aliens. But they're not. But I'm just saying, right? You know, they are. It's part of human nature. You're not going to know everything. But when we talk about speaking the truth in love, we're not talking about laying this intellectual pile driver, boom, on those idiots who don't know that the My Pillow guy is actually Trump in disguise. You know what I'm saying? There's no point. We're wasting our time. And the more you get bogged down with the things of this world, the less you're going to focus on the kingdom of Jesus and the good news. So the point is that, yes, you're being lied to. You don't have anyone to persuade of that. Even people who are not religious, atheistic, materialistic, polyamoristic, LGBT, whatever, they know you're being lied to. There is a very slim minority of Americans who truly trust the government and you know what I'm saying? We all know we're being lied to in some ways. And again, some of you in this room might say, I'm being lied to in this many ways. Others, you might say, I'm being lied to this many ways. Nobody's being honest. Last point. How do you immunize yourself against these lies? How do you protect yourself against the world of lies? How do you respond when you say, I'm being lied to? You don't get angry. You don't get panicky. You don't get elected. Here's what you do. Walk in truth. Psalm 86 says, teach me your way, O Lord. I will walk in your truth. Unite my heart to fear thy name. The Bible says that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge and wisdom. Don't you understand? I have all the knowledge in the world, then you're fearing the Lord. We read about that in Proverbs 1 and Proverbs 2, haven't we, on Wednesday nights? Fearing the Lord is where knowledge and wisdom begins. That's the kind of knowledge we should be obsessed with. Not the knowledge of saying, oh yeah, I know this guy, he's the 4th generation czar from Germany who's actually controlling these 4 banks. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to know about that. I'm not. Sometimes it's kind of cool to learn stuff like that. But I am saying that if that is please listen, if that is you know how you're supposed to be a jack of all trades and a master of one? Don't master that stuff. Don't let it control your life. Yeah, you're being lied to. But that is all the more reason why Jesus Christ said, I am the truth, because he knew he came to a world of lies. Did you hear what I said? He knew he came to a world of lies. 3 John, verse 4. He said, I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. There's no use speaking the truth if our lives are not associated with a relentless passion for God's truth. For God's truth. Oh, and by the way, let me close with this example, and then I'm going to go to the last slide here. Even as recently as 5-6 years ago, as a Christian and as a pastor, I was really sure that a lot of things were indisputably, unchangingly, incorrigibly, determined, get the idea, true. And that nothing was going to assail upon the truth. But then when I shut up and let the word of God be the truth, and let Jesus be the truth, that kind of shut me down. And now I just say, hey, whatever he says, that's what I believe. You know what I'm saying? I hope you do. I hope you do. You'll note that none of the proper responses to being lied to involves hijacking a radio tower to broadcast your message. But people need to know that birds are government drones. I understand this. You know whose mentality that was of the disciples? Whose was it? Not the drone thing, the violence thing. Yeah, Peter. Peter had this mentality of, no. Jesus is the one who's going to wipe out Rome, and he's going to clear everybody. So when Malchus, right, came to arrest Jesus, he goes, no way, man, you're getting in the way of the truth. He was chasing after the whole wrong thing. Peter was defending his truth, not the truth. Does that make sense? I'm not a big fan of people saying, I'm going to speak my truth. I hear that before people speak their opinions. There is one truth. Come on, Saint. Well, you say 2 + 2 is 4, but my truth is that 2 + 2 is 5. Come on, Saint. Judge Brown, what is a woman? Oh, man, I'm not a biologist. There is one truth, man. Come on. Hey, is it raining? Oh, I'm not a meteorologist. I don't. Saint, right? Come on, saints. I need a meteorologist. Right. Oh, I've been shot. How do you know that? You're not a doctor. You know, come on, saints. You want me to come up with 20 more? Because I definitely can. You know what I mean? I'm standing on wood. You're not a carpenter. Those are stars. You're not an astronaut. You're not a telescope. Come on, saints. But here's what it is. Here's what it is. Oh, I thought you were telling me to stop. She's just playing with her necklace. I thought Amber was like, hey, Britt, too much. Too much. All right. She probably is thinking that, though. I'll be real with you. All right. Let me stop with this. It's 12:03. I'm 3 minutes over. Oh, and by the way, there's some who say, come on, she doesn't define a woman. It's a very small thing. Ladies and gentlemen, women's rights are, who fought for women's rights first? Jesus. Women's rights are under assault in the United States of America. What if one of my daughters wants to grow up to be a ballerina? And she's out there doing her little ballerina. Oh, man, I love ballerinas. So graceful and guys can take ballerina too. I would look pretty cool. I mean, I wouldn't wear a tutu. No, I wouldn't wear a tutu. That's too much. You know what I'm saying? Ballerina, man. And you could plie. Yeah, I'll do a plie. But now let's say that my daughters, right? And this is an extreme example, and I'm being a little funny, but let's say they're competing, right, on a national level, and all of a sudden, you got Tom Brady, because he'll still be doing it when he's 90. He's an athlete, right? He comes in and says, yeah, I identify as a woman, and I'm going to be Tina Brady, and I'm going to compete for this. That's not fair to my daughters. Well, yes, it is. You need to have an open mind. No, I'm interested in the truth. I'm interested in what is. And when you can't say what is, you ought not be saying anything until you can get some basics of truth down. That's why I utterly reject any elected representative who's literally interviewing for the job of the highest decision-making. And you can't even tell me a basic like that? You're not going to defend my daughters. You're going to throw them to the wolves. Why is that important? You're being lied to. So what do? I'm going to go picket Judge Ketanji Brown. No. Your job in response is to walk in truth and let your truth shine. And when appropriate, speak that truth. And at all times, live in that truth. And that when somebody comes to try to creep into your home with the my body, my choice is just a clump of cells, you say, that's not true. You're being lied to. And it goes way deeper and way more insidious than whether some shot's got a vaccine or chip or whatnot. I'm not saying that these are not. I'm saying that the real issue that will transcend whatever current cultural issues, the real issues are the ones that are so sneaky, they're not really coming at you in the headlines. It's the subtle messaging that has prevailed for the last 30, 40 years that have culminated in such a way that now we have someone interviewing for the Supreme Court of the United States who cannot define what a woman is. You say that's not an important issue, Britt, get off of it. It is representative of the gravest, most dire situations we've ever been in as a nation. It is a big deal. It should enter the conversation because it's not about whether this woman defines another woman or not. You were chosen because you're a woman, and you can't even define a woman. But what that is it's a picture of how the lies have spread, how by accepting little bitty lies have now grown to this lie. This is like, hey, a lie is just like that, ladies and gentlemen. You let it in a little bit, it's going to grow once it takes root. Not going to stay small. So while we're worried about Putin and Klaus Schwab, and again, I'm not saying it's bad to read up on those things. Read up, make an opinion, I don't care. Be more concerned with the lies that are affecting the trajectory of our homes, our nation, and then what do you do in response? Get angry? Get depressed? Get elected? No, walk in truth. So lastly, please listen, I'm so sorry, listen. It's not about hijacking a radio tower. It's not about being violent or angry. It's not about saying, well, I just got to get a big enough platform so that everybody will listen to me. No, remember, that's the big lie. Christians have been told a big lie that because you're just a small minority, you don't affect anybody. Oh, I'm going to show you one more thing. Pastor, why? Because we're still early. That's why. Listen. Jesus lived a quiet and peaceable life, dedicated to the truth and only the truth. Listen to how Jesus reacted. He knew the scriptures, answered his accusers gently, and allowed them to confound themselves. Jesus eventually died for the truth. He laid down his life. So last slide. Yes, you're being lied to. Yes, I concede the point you're being lied to. That's not a surprise. Everybody running around here trying to convince us that we're being lied to. If you weren't born yesterday, you know that you're being lied to. About what? That's what's going to vary, but we're all being lied to. Man, even the commercials, man, they're being lied to. Come on, Saint. Domino's pizza, Little Caesars. I love Little Caesars pizza. But you're not going to get me to believe that when you pull the slice away from the pie, all that cheese is dripping. Don't play games with me, Little Caesars. Glue. Yeah. They use glue to look like cheese so that when they lift the pizza for the commercial, they lift the slice from the rest of the pizza, all that cheese is dribbling. It's not even cheese, man. You know what they do to come on, Saint. Y'all are heartbroken right now. You're like, I thought they weren't lying to me. You know they are. You know, Mrs. Butterworth. I know. They're doing the commercials about pouring that syrup on the pancake. And it all just kind of dribbles off the side. You know how they do that? They spray the pancakes with ironing starch before the take. And because of that, it repels the syrup so it doesn't make your pancakes the soggy mess, and it goes off the side of the thing. And that chunk of butter ain't no chunk of butter, that's wax. Fool. Right? Come on, man. You're being lied to. Everywhere. You are being lied to. So what do? Here's the last statement. The only proper reaction to that is Christ-likeness. Walking in God's truth exactly as Jesus did. Jesus did not go, I don't know why I do this. Jesus was not like a bull in a china shop. You guys have to know, Caesar actually was not technically, when Brutus stabbed him and he said, et tu brute, it was actually a code so that when you, come on. Jesus just wanted people to know about the good news, man. He wasn't so concerned with the stuff of this world because his kingdom was not of this world. I love reading about stuff like this. I seriously, don't get me wrong. I love reading about stuff like this. Man, I do. But if it at any point starts making me not think or act like Jesus, I've gotten it upside down. You start yelling at people or start getting in their face or you can't disagree agreeably, you've messed up. Once in a while on Facebook, I'm not going to pull any punches. It was some of y'all. You say, is it I, Lord? No, you know. And I say y'all, I'm not necessarily talking about anybody present necessarily, but in this church body, years ago, Some of y'all are going out on Facebook or somebody just said something and then somebody comes at it. Well, actually, idiot, I don't think you understand. It's like, whoa. They didn't say idiot, but that was implied, right? You know what I mean? And the person was just like, well, okay. Yeah, this is just what I was saying, and I'm so sorry that we don't agree. Well, if you just see it from my perspective, I think that you would pretty much understand that actually you're wrong and that I'm right. And if you would just like open your eyes and get woke, come on, saints. There is nothing wrong with being persuaded, passionately so, about a position, political, scientific, or otherwise. Why, one of my favorite Christians in the world, Craig Keener, was led to the Lord by two ladies who were trying to persuade him that dinosaur bones were put there by Satan to deceive people about the age of the earth. It's okay to have positions, and some of them, it's okay for them to be weird. I got weird beliefs too. Dude, I got some out there ones. I think birds are drones. I'm just joking, I really don't, that's weird. But you want to change the world. You don't do it by getting people faces. You don't do it you change the world by just being like Jesus. I have been accused. This isn't the Michael Britt show, but I'm going to tell you, I've been accused of not caring about the issue because I don't get my blood pressure up over them. I want to change the world. I want to do that. But I'm not going to change the world by picking up a sword with Peter. I'm going to change the world by laying down my life for people that hate my guts. I'm going to change the world by doing good things for people who don't represent me fairly in Congress. I'm going to change the world by getting a glass of water for somebody who just washed their hands after committing an abortion. I'm going to change the world by calling someone sir or ma'am when they hate my guts online. That's how I'm going to change the world. One person at a time. Hey guys, real change doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen when we sign things into law. By the time, please listen, this is valuable to you. By the time they've already signed legislation in place, that law has already been written on the hearts of people. Well, we got to stop the law. That's not going to do anything. It may stopgap it for a while. I'm not saying we shouldn't be in politics, but I'm saying law changes no hearts. The gospel changes hearts. All right, now, this is normally I'd say this for extra, but I have to just show you. It's super quick. You say, Britt, I'm so glad you're showing us. I know, I'm really glad I'm showing you too. Watch. I'm being sarcastic, but watch. Church auditorium, not just the left screen. Here we go. All right, we're there. You cannot see this well. I didn't think that you'd be able to. But, I can zoom in. Cool. This is a u.gov research, okay? u.gov. I think that's what it's called, u.gov, ugov.org or whatever. Hell, the Pokemon, my bad. All right. Yo, we're doing all right. The worst thing your pastor has on his phone is a Pokemon. You know what I'm saying? All right, good stuff. This is a study by the government. It says Americans overestimate the size of minority groups and underestimate the size of most majority groups. Here's the effects of lies day to day. Americans estimated that 21% of the population is transgender. I do not hate transgender people. I love transgender people. They're incredible people. I mean that. I'm not just saying that to cover, 1% of the population at max is transgender. But through the lies of the media, we've been told that an accurate representation of transgender people is 21%. Are you hearing me? We watch Star Trek Discovery. It's a new Star Trek show, pretty decent show. Literally almost or over half of the main cast is either gay, lesbian. It's part of the LGBTQ spectrum, transgender, bisexual, and then non-gender. I'm not being rude. I just can't keep track of them all. And what they do is when they make 50% of the cast that way, you might be inclined to think, if you live in TV world like most Americans do, that half of the world is that way. Are you hearing me? Yeah. But it's 1%. Here's a big one. I actually thought it was atheists. You would say, oh man, most of America is atheistic. The latest secular government poll, 3%. 3. Guys, 3%. You know what Americans estimated? 33%. 1/3 of all Americans. Guys, it's 3%. Are you with me so far? Here's another one. Gay or lesbian. I was actually wrong on this one. I thought it was about twice what it was. Americans say about 30% of Americans are gay or lesbian. Untrue. 3. I thought it was 6. I really did. Misinformation. So you hearing what I'm saying? There's a whole bunch of them. Left-handed, live in Texas. The live in Texas one's pretty good. American estimated that 30% of Americans lived in Texas. Seriously, it's there. This is, again, a poll. Right? You got to, YouGov. It's actually 9%. 9%. I mean, how many Americans do you think are Muslim? Well, if you look at Michigan, if you look at the representation like on TV, you probably about 25, 27%. Nope, 1%. I'm just throwing it. And again, this is a new poll. You say this poll is wrong. Could be that the poll is lying to us. That's a possibility, sure. But I'm just saying, it just goes to show the staggering difference in what people think. Own a gun, 54%. Nope, it's only 32. I was about to say, I compose about 1% apparently, because, have at least a college degree, household income over 100,000, have a passport, are Democrats, are obese. That's a little telling. Everybody's like 56% of Americans are obese. It's 42. That's pretty big. No pun intended. Anyway, so you can look at it later. I'm just saying. So saints, the moral of the story is, yes, you're being lied to. Yes, you are. But how do we respond? Not by anything other than living a life like Jesus. Lord, I love you. Thank you for the day. Thanks for everything you've done for us. Thank you for your son. Thank you for the hope that we have.